Hello students and welcome to this video lesson. Today our learning targets are being able to graph circles given an equation, determine the center and radius given an equation or the graph, and writing the equation of circles. So basically what we're doing is we're getting the coordinate plane out and we're going to draw graphs and we're going to write equations. This is our success criteria. So like I said, here's an equation, here's a graph. Let's put it all together. So first off, you need the general equation. So I believe this is in your notes packet. There's a spot for you to write down this equation right here. So take a moment, pause the video as necessary, and write this down in your notes packet. So what it means, this equation, is x and y are always going to be x and y. Okay, so those are variables are not going to change. H and k are going to be numbers. They represent the centers. So I believe there's a spot for this in your notes packet as well. So HK is the center in that order. H first because it's the x component, K second because it's the y component. And then R, obviously, stands for radius. You probably got to guess that. Now, the only weird thing about this equation is everything is squared. It's kind of like a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It is, in fact, connected to that formula, the distance formula. So that's where those squareds come from. So don't forget about the squareds. Okay, and so the picture that kind of goes along with it to illustrate this understanding is HK is going to be the center of the circle. So remember, that's smack dab in the middle. And then the radius, remember, is the distance from the center to that edge. So this is an illustration of how that XY comes into play. For plus students, we'll talk about this more in the next lesson. But for everyone else, you just need to understand center, radius. Okay, so hopefully that's written in your notes packet, because now we're going to do a bunch of examples. All right, example number 1. It says the center of a circle is 2, 3, and the radius is 2. Write the equation and graph it. So I'll just go in order. Let's write the equation first. So here is our general formula. If you don't need to write it down, that's perfectly acceptable. So I wanted it here so we can plug it in. Remember, this is HK up here. X and Y are X and Y. Okay, those don't change. So we're going to go x minus, well, the first thing is 2. The second thing is 3, so we're going to go y minus 3. And then the radius is 2, so we're going to put 2 in for r. So my next slide illustrates that. I plugged in 2, 3, and, oh, I did it right away because I thought it was pretty easy. 2 squared is 4. So this is the only thing that looks kind of funky because it doesn't look like the number they gave us. Okay, notice the minus signs here. It's kind of like if you think about last year when you did parabolas in algebra, or that's the only example I can think of off the top of my head. It's the opposite sign of what you think it should be. So even though these are positive 2 and 3, it's going to be a minus in the equation. All right, it does ask me to graph it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go back to this part up here. 2, 3 is the center. So we're going to plot a dot at 2, 3. There it is, 2, 3. And then the way to graph it is take that radius of 2. Now that means from the center to the edge. So there's basically 4 directions. Just don't make it look like a square. You can go up 2, you can go down 2, you can go right 2, and you can go left 2. I would personally plot all 4 dots and just connect it and make it as circular as possible. So I cheated because I had this nice tool on my computer, but as long as you have the general sense, you'll be fine. Okay, let's try it again. Here's another one. Oh, so a little side note, I am making the same video for plus and regular. So plus, this is not in your packet. Regular it is. So you have a bunch of extra circles on page 2 plus students. And so go ahead and turn to page 2 and do this example here. All right, so this one says the center of the circle is at -3, 0, and the radius is 6. Write the equation, graph it. So let's start with just the general equation. Here it is. Okay. We're going to plug -3 in for H, 0 in for K, 6 in for R. So nice in order. Here's my work this time because it's a little bit trickier. So notice I have the minus -3. So that means it's going to be a plus. Minus 0, well, I know minus 0 doesn't do anything, so I'm just going to leave that off. And 6 squared, I do in fact want you to write out whatever 6 squared is. Don't write 6 squared, write 36. So here's my final answer. Became a plus, 0's gone. 6 squared is in fact 36. That one you have to multiply out. All right, let's graph it. So again, I like to just go back up here so I don't have to do the backwards thing. Negative 3, 0 is going to be over here. And a radius of 6. So like I said, do the 4 corners. Go up 6, down 6, right 6, left 6 from that center dot. So draw out the dot first. There it is. I went up 6. I went to the side 6, down 6. So 4 little dots, connect them with a circle. There's your circle. Let's try it all over again. Oh, okay, this is a good one. Let's go backwards. So this time we have the graph and we have to fill out all the information. So basically on all these equations, there's like 4 things. Center, radius, equation, graph. Okay, so you're going to be given one of them, maybe 2 of them, and you're going to have to fill out the other ones. So let's start with the center because that one's a little bit easier to calculate. It is over 3 up 4, I believe. So 3, 4? Yes, I got it right. All right, next up is the radius, so from the center to the edge. So count any of those 4 directions. They should all be the same or else you did something wrong. It is 3 over, or 3 over, 3 up, so it's 3. All right, so now we're basically at the same place we were in those last 2 examples. You are going to write the equation. So general formula right there. It's going to go 3 in for H, 4 in for K, 3 in for R. There it is. Squared 3, and I got 9. Final answer. Feel free to pause the video as needed. Okay, I believe this is the 4th one we're doing now, 3rd or 4th one. All right, same exact as the last one. We have the equation, or excuse me, we have the graph. Let's fill out these 3. So center is minus 4, minus 3, negative, negative, negative 4, negative 3. And the radius from the middle to the sides are, oh, this is not a very good graph. Let's do our best we can. 5 that way, almost 5 that way. I screwed up a little bit when I drew this. So it is in fact 5. Now, I might try to trick you a little bit on the test, just a forewarning, that if I don't actually give the dot in the middle, so pretend it's not there, what you could do is you could count in from the sides until you get to the same place. Or if you count all the way across, you could divide it by 2, knowing the middle smack dab in the middle. So, just a little suggestion there. And the equation, general equation right there. Okay, it's going to be pluses in the middle now because it's going to be minus negative 4, minus negative 3, 5 squared, which will be 25. Oh, just kidding. I showed my work this time. I don't always remember what I do. Minus, minus became pluses. So that opposite thing's a little weird. Got to remember that, the opposites. Let's try another one. All right, so this example, again, is also not in your packet, Geometry Plus students. So you can go back to that first page where you had all those circles again and just practice this one here. So if you just graph it, you should be good. So Geometry Regular, just keep going in your packet. This should be the next problem. So it says, given the following equation, what is the center, what's the radius, graph? Okay, so a little different than the other ones. So I would probably start with center first. So the center is going to be the opposite of these. Now keep them in order. So since it's a negative 6, it's actually positive 6 because they're always opposite. Instead of minus 2, it's going to be a positive 2. So the center is going to be 6, 2. All right. You got to think about the radius here. The radius, remember, r squared is this number right here. So r is not 16. It is, in fact, the square root of 16. Because what squared makes this? And that would be 4. So remember to go backwards instead of forwards. All right, once you have those, you can graph it. So go ahead and find 6, 2 on your graph, and go 4 every direction and draw a circle. Believe I did it correctly. I think so. 4 every direction. Good go. All right. Here's another one like this. Again, plus, you kind of have to bear with me here. So plus, this is the success criteria. So we skipped question number 4. We will come back to it in just a moment. Okay. Again, regular, we're just going in order for you. Make your life easy. Plus, kids can figure it out themselves. So let's see. We have this equation right here. The center will be the opposite, the opposite. So the opposite of positive 3 is negative 3. The opposite of negative 4 is positive 4. In order, x then y, x then y. The radius is backwards again, remember? So what squared is 25? That would be 5. I think you're going smaller because we're coming backwards from equation to radius. All right, let's graph it. -3, +4. So center is going to be right at my cursor. And we're going to go up, down, left, right, 5. Okay. All right, feeling pretty confident in my graph there. So go ahead and graph all 4 directions with 5 units. All right, the next one is a little tricky. This equation doesn't really look like the other ones. We're going to do the exact same thing as last time, okay? So what I'm thinking is, could I write it in the formula? So here's what I'm thinking. Basically, if it's just an x or a y, it's like zeros added in there, subtracted in there, because nothing's changed. So I just wrote -0 instead of just leaving it like this, because this looks like the formula, and now I can answer the questions really easily. The center is 0, 0. Right? It's this number and this number. The opposite of those. -0 becomes +0. Negative becomes positive. The radius, what squared is 1? Well, that's actually just 1. A lot of you guys might think a half, but that's by multiplying, not square rooting. So what squared makes this number? That would be the square root of 1, which is in fact 1. So really tiny graph on this one. Sorry about that. 0, 0 is the center, and we go up 1, over 1, down 1, over 1. Tiny little circle. All right, plus students, you're in luck. You get to be done after this problem. So go ahead and turn the video off. Regular students, it's got a couple more to go. All right. Oh, just one more to go. All right. The center of the circle, radius of the circle, graph it. Okay, so we've done a couple of these. Let's see. The center is +4, opposite, and -3, opposite. 4, -3. So hopefully you're getting that opposite rule down pretty well. And then this always confuses people. If this is 25, the formulas are squared. So what squared is 25? Oops, my apologies, wrong way. That's 5. Okay, let's graph it. 4, -3, so it's going to be down. Here's the dot, so draw the dot, and then go every direction 5. There it is. All right. I believe that is our last problem. Yes, it is. So feel free to get started on the homework. The substitute will tell you which pages you need to do in your packet. Good luck, everyone.